Am I the asshole for ignoring my teacher? I, 16F, go an international school. I am the only Middle Eastern kid alongside my sister and we have pretty noticeable names so people always had trouble pronouncing them. I get asked if they can shorten my name to an English version but it's really weird to me because my first name, which is a Turkish name, is only 2 syllables and the only part that should be hard for an English person to pronounce is the C. C's are read as the J sound like in John in Turkish. My middle name is Arabic and even harder to pronounce for English speakers. Anyways, I go to a British school so most of the teachers are either British or local. They do not bother even trying to pronounce my name correctly. A few of my teachers make an effort so it's appreciated but we all have those teachers that just don't care, right? My English teacher is a great example of that. The first day we met, he asked me if I had a middle name that was easier to pronounce. My guy, it's 2 syllables. You can say Dostoevsky without stuttering but my name is what gets you. Even though I do have a middle name, I told him no went on with my day. From that day on he has been bugging me to let him call me a shortened version of my name like, Ren, which. No. This is a continuous thing and I've even complained to the principal about it but all he said was, it's just a name, and told me to leave his office. My drama teacher was even worse. She quit last year so I guess that's good. She asked me if she could call me Clara, because it's a lot prettier than my name, don't you think? At first I laughed because I thought she was joking, I mean wouldn't you? But then, she only started calling me Clara in class and would get mad when I got confused. It made me feel invisible, like I didn't matter enough for her to bother learning my name. She didn't do it to the other kids in class too so it bothered me even more. One day I decided I had enough and started ignoring her whenever she called me Clara since it's not my name and she got mad. I'm talking screaming down the hallway to get me to stop walking away from her mad. She gave me detention for ignoring her when she was clearly calling out you. When I tried to defend myself, she gave me another detention for talking back. I went to the principal again because this was unfair but he said I was being unreasonable and that I should have answered her regardless. I told my parents what happened and you can guess that they were livid. They sent an angry email to the principal and everything but it only made matters worse. I still go to that school and have to listen to people purposefully butcher my name. I still ignore them when they do and still get detention for it which obviously isn't fun. I know it's been a year and everything since the drama teacher occurrence but I'm still pissed about it to this day. So, am I the asshole for ignoring my teachers? Do I deserve all these detentions? And #X200B. Edit. Many people have suggested I write my name phonetically so it's easier for my teachers to pronounce. I have already done this but it didn't work at all unfortunately skeptical smiley face. Not the asshole, but all of them are. I would be right there with your parents and be furious about what they are doing to you. You can't switch schools? I'm so sorry you have having to put up with this kind of garbage. I can relate because my daughter has a Welsh name and people butcher it all the time as well. Not the asshole. Assigning you a completely different name is beyond rude. I would not answer to it either. Wow. Not the asshole. How incredibly insensitive for teachers to belittle a student in this way. SMH names are an important part of a person's identity and deserve to be respected. Not the asshole WTF. I am a teacher and I work very hard to learn the names of every student. I always tell my students to correct me if I say their name wrong. Someone who can't bother to respect their students enough to do so shouldn't be a teacher. I am so sorry this has happened to you. OMG. Not the asshole, not the asshole, not the asshole. On behalf of your asshole teachers, I'm so sorry. I teach in a British international school in the MENA region and see so many teachers who don't put in the effort and it's a pet hate of mine. Names are so important to our identities and I cannot understand not wanting to make the effort. I have one student from China whose name I really struggle with but I'm going to keep trying and asking her to correct me when I get it wrong so I can do better. Not the asshole, it's your name, you have the right to be called by it, and they have a responsibility to use it. Until that Turkish C is pronounced J which has improved my ability to pronounce at least one student's name better. Thank you, and hang in there. Not the asshole, I would be mad at your place too. The principal is wanting you to be professional and just still answer. But the teachers are fine to disrespect you? Nah. I would be as petty as beginning to call these teachers by their first name and say, sorry. But that way it's easier for me. If you have to get detention, then at least with a small boom. Ignoring the drama teachers. No, saying that name is prettier is just asshole energy. A teacher who just doesn't care. They don't have to try. And for the English teacher, depending on what language one speaks, things can be nigh impossible for him to say and easy for you, and vice versa. Am I the asshole for refusing to help my neighbors with their kid and blaming them for his poor behaviors? My girlfriend, 25 female, and I, 27 male, both work as therapists for kids. She works with elementary and middle schoolers, whereas I work with high schoolers. Over the summer, through some chance interactions, we befriended our next-door neighbors who recently moved in. They are roughly the same age as us, but they have a young son, 4 or 5. Even though he is young, he is very argumentative and has virtually no control over his emotions. Anything, seriously, anything. I once saw him start throwing things when a YouTube video that he was enjoying came to an end. That upsets him, leads to him crying, screaming, and throwing things. On top of that, we often hear them screaming at each other through the walls, sometimes at their son, which makes him cry more. We don't want to judge, so my girlfriend and I wanted to give them the benefit of the doubt. Our neighbors know my girlfriend and I are therapists, so ever since we met they have asked for advice from time to time. That was fine at first, but as time went on our interactions became more and more focused on them asking us questions. It even got to the point where they asked if we would consider counseling him. There are many ethical reasons why we can't, which we explained at the time, but due to the nature of our jobs my girlfriend and I have a strict rule for ourselves that after 4 p.m. we do nothing related to work. It's our time, and maintaining a good work-life balance is good for self-care. They were visibly annoyed when we told them this, but eventually they got over it. Last week, after a particularly stressful day at work, the dad caught me in the hallway right as I got home. He was immediately asking me for help and basically ignored everything we previously talked about. I informed him that I had a long day, just wanted to go home, and that if they're this concerned about their son they should go find him a therapist. He took this as an offense because he snidely said, "I have therapists living next door," which absolutely pushed me over the edge. I reminded him of what we talked about before, and when he shrugged it off or repeated his last statement I said something along the lines of, "You want my therapeutic advice? Stop screaming at each other all the time. Everything I've seen him do I can directly relate to how you treat him and how you and his mom interact." Obviously he didn't like this, so he called me an asshole, said some other choice words, and went to his apartment. Not sure what's to come of this, but I'm not exactly looking forward to seeing them again. Am I the asshole? Edit 1, info. What we have heard them saying through the walls and not enough for a CYS report. Verbal, psychological abuse is hard because it's so arbitrary, extremely hard to prove, and, unfortunately, rather common. I can very easily report it. I just know from experience that nothing will come of it. I think what they're doing is just shitty, not healthy, and will likely affect the kid for years to come. My professional opinion is that their behavior is simply problematic, and I'd say they're bad parents, not abusive parents. Absolutely not the asshole. They want free advice. They want to push their child onto the two of you and you pushed back, rightly so. I have therapists living next door. Why technically true, he does not have his son's therapists living next door. Not only is he an asshole, he is an entitled parent, too. Hope you and your girlfriend find another place to live or they do. Not the asshole. And now he said, choice words, to you. Hopefully, he will be too damned embarrassed to bother you again. If he ever does ask you anything, tell him you will refer him to a colleague. They people are not your clients. They are not your friends. You have tried to be polite. You owe them nothing more. Not the asshole. This is your career, they aren't entitled to free therapy. My friend is a contractor and I pay him for everything he does, even when he offers to help for free. Not the asshole. They aren't entitled to free help from you, that's one thing. Also, a therapist should be as neutral as possible, so you as a neighbor may be already too much, as you pointed out. Not the asshole. You explained that there are ethical reasons and personal reasons as to why you won't counsel their son, and if they had any baseline of respect for you and your girlfriend, they would have stopped after that conversation. Of course he didn't like your response because it sheds light on his poor parenting skills and the issues in his relationship with the child's mother. If it doesn't go against any personal or professional ethics, maybe next time you see your neighbors you can provide them with some recommendations for other therapists for their son and just gently reinforce your boundaries around the whole situation. Not the asshole. You've tried from what I read to be nice and neighborly, but also to set boundaries for yourself with this neighbor who doesn't respect them whatsoever. Going forward, You've said what you said and you can't take it back at this point, and he did keep asking for your help and advice. When you see this neighbor in the future, if either just nod and keep walking, or if he tries to stop you, just say sorry. I've told you my feelings on this already and I am not discussing it further with you. Have a good day, night, whatever, and then keep walking or walk away. Be firm and eventually he will get the hint. Not the asshole. He wanted free therapy advice. You gave it to him. He just didn't like the answer, and reacted about how you would expect him to react, basically proving your point. You may also have a lawyer living nearby. Doesn't mean you're going to ask for free advice. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for telling my wife to stop being so jealous of my friend's fiancé? My wife, 35F, and I, 36M, are good friends with another couple, my best friend Matt, 36M, and his fiancée Rachel, 24F. Rachel models and is very attractive. My wife is less conventionally attractive, but I fell in love with her for her humor and good spirit, which I personally find more attractive than good looks. Recently I've noticed my wife making a lot of comments about Rachel, calling her an airhead and just being kind of mean. When my wife makes these comments in private, I am able to stand up for Rachel, but when they're made in public, I obviously don't want to embarrass my wife by calling her out. My wife and I went on a trip away with Matt and Rachel last week, which we had been planning for a while and really looking forward to. At dinner one night, my wife made a really mean comment after we started talking about the economy. She remarked, "Don't worry Rachel, you can join in the conversation once the smart people are done." She was the only one who laughed. I was completely embarrassed, and once we were alone I told my wife she had been really rude and I was ashamed of her. I told her she needs to stop making nasty comments and she agreed. However, the next night we all went out to a bar. Rachel was getting a lot of attention from guys there who were sending over drinks. My wife was looking visibly annoyed that she wasn't receiving the same attention, so I tried to lift her spirits by paying for all her drinks and making a fuss of her. One guy came over and said that Rachel looked just like the model Zendaya. My wife let out a massive laugh and said, "Did you mean to say Whoopi Goldberg?" I turned to my wife and straight up said, "You really are so jealous, aren't you?" She looked hurt but didn't have time to respond as Rachel had left the table in tears. I followed Matt and told Rachel directly that I was so sorry for my wife's words and that I was ashamed of her behavior. When I reunited with my wife, she told me I was horrible for calling her jealous in front of everyone and embarrassing her. I told her straight up that she was jealous of Rachel as Rachel is more attractive than her. I realize in hindsight this was a very heavy thing to say and can see why she would be hurt by it. However, I stand by the fact it was said in anger. Am I the asshole? Edit. I forgot to mention that since the trip Matt has messaged me to let me know my wife is no longer welcome at their wedding, and that as a couple himself and Rachel have decided they aren't interested in our friendship anymore if my wife is around. Rachel feels as if my wife has bullied her and has even suggested that some of the comments were racially motivated. I am so humiliated. Edit. Sorry, another edit. Just wanted to clarify, my wife is stunning. I wouldn't have married her if I didn't think she was beautiful. She is just not as conventionally attractive. To me, she is the most beautiful woman on the planet, but objectively Rachel is better looking. I'm very open to being the asshole in this situation, but I definitely wouldn't want people to think I'm not attracted to my wife. Not the asshole. Aside from the way you handled it at the end, she's the asshole. Stop bringing her around when you hang out with Matt and Rachel. Don't lie to her though, just don't bring her anywhere they are going to be. If she doesn't like it, then oh well, she doesn't get to bully people and get rewarded. Not the asshole. The only person here who is not acting like a mature adult is your wife. You talked to her in private and she didn't listen. Unfortunately, sometimes people have to be called out in public in order for them to get the point. Not the asshole. She dimmed her own light with her jealousy. She was rude and hurtful to Rachel. Jealousy does not give you a free pass to out someone down. I'm not sure if you're an asshole here, as you were right to call her out, but you're going to pay for that comment for the rest of your marriage. Your wife is an asshole, and you're in hot water. Not the asshole. Sorry, but your wife, humor, and good spirit, are straight up bitter and nasty. Women like your wife is why the whole "women always support each other" is a lie. She is jealous, sad and bitter, and I doubt Rachel is the first person she has been nasty about. She is projecting her own insecurities on other people and trying to tear them down. You called her out in private, which she took no notice of. Good on you for calling her out in public. I hope you maintain your friendship with Matt and Rachel without her. Everyone sucks here. I picked up on you directly comparing your wife to the younger, prettier model. Not conventionally attractive, married her for her humor and good spirit. Ick. If my partner wrote that about me, I'd be sick to my stomach. I married my wife because she is amazing and I love her, not that damning with extremely faint praise which basically reads that you think she's ugly and then you go on to explain her personality isn't that nice either. I'm not surprised your wife is feeling deeply uncomfortable. Yeah, she sucks for making the comments, but there's a lot of issues from you that need addressing. I've had this conversation with other black women that we notice when we get more attention than the white women near us, they get really offended. Like, why are you paying attention to the blackie when I'm white? It's the same way skinny girls get upset when someone shows their fat friend attention. They believe they have a trait, thinness, whiteness, that makes them more desirable by default, and society has pushed this narrative to be mostly true. So when they get a dose of the reality that that's actually not true, it hurts their world view of themselves. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your wife is a mean girl. An insecure bully. I wouldn't want her around either. Am I the asshole for telephoning my boyfriend that my daughter hid his contact lenses? My daughter Madison, 16, suffered from abandonment at a young age. Her bio dad left suddenly when she was 5. We weren't married and it was easy for him to just walk out and disappear. He was mentally unstable, so I'm grateful at least I was able to keep Maddie safe. When Maddie met my boyfriend Chris, she latched onto him and they established a bond in no time. Chris is a great man, he cares about Maddie and considers her as his own. They have activities they spend time doing, but unfortunately due to unpredictable work schedule Chris may not always be available. He explained this to Maddie, but clearly she doesn't fully get it and get mad when he has to cancel plans and go to work despite trying his best, but it doesn't happen often. This past week Chris promised Maddie that he'd take her and friends to visit an old factory and take videos for their project, but then apologized later saying he had to cover an urgent shift the day of the trip and she got upset and didn't accept it, claiming his shift was more important than her. She kept complaining till I told her to drop it. Next day I was in the kitchen when I heard Chris shouting saying he just fell down the stairs. I rushed to check on him and saw that he hurt his ankle after falling down the stairs. He was in so much pain. I asked how it happened. He said he woke up and couldn't find his contact lenses. He doesn't go to bed wearing them and has reasons not to, and kept looking for them but didn't find them, so he wanted to try looking for them downstairs. I said there's no way they were left anywhere else besides the nightstand where he left them, and he agreed. I took him to the hospital after the pain intensified and got him disposable contacts from the pharmacy, which cost $80 as temporary solution. We got home and I went into Maddie's room to ask for some help, but she was in the shower. I took a quick look around and a small white box caught my eye. I discovered that it had Chris's contacts in it. I was shocked and furious. I had her get out of the shower to explain why she hid the contacts and she denied, but I shouted her into submission and she admitted she hid them to get back at Chris for breaking his promise and for choosing work over spending time with her. I said what she did was messed up as Chris and his work got affected by her harsh punishment for him. I grounded her, taking her saving in return of the money I spent on new contacts, and took her camera and laptop away. She started crying, saying I was making her feel stranded by taking her project equipment away. I told her to apologize and get right with Chris soon, but she begged me to not tell him she did this, otherwise I'll ruin their relationship. I said she shouldn't expect their relationship to be the same after what she did. I told him and he understandably got upset and wanted space from her, but she didn't take it well. She's been going mad ever since, crying, refusing to eat, accusing me of ruining the bond she has with him over something she did in a moment of frustration. Not the asshole, but op. Your daughter needs help more than she needs punishment. What she did was absolutely horrid, but it really sounds like your daughter is developing an unhealthy attachment to your boyfriend and some really cruel, vindictive tendencies. When she is ready, some individual counseling could really help her work through her issues and form relationships in a much more healthy way. Get your child some fucking therapy, Jesus Christ. You're not the asshole. Maddie sounds very immature. My dad often worked overtime at the weekend, so that we could afford nice things including vacations. I understood that way before the age of 16. Not the asshole for punishing her. But, you're the asshole for not getting your daughter proper help, as it's painfully obvious she needs a lot of therapy and care. Edited. You know what, you are the asshole. Your daughter has abandonment issues and you say this to her. I said she shouldn't expect their relationship to be the same after what she did. Seriously? What she did was awful, but if he really is a parent to her, no, it shouldn't ruin the relationship. I'd not dump my kids if they hid my contact lenses FFS. All shouting and no substance. Info. What help is Maddie getting to work through these issues? Not the asshole for telling Chris and disciplining your daughter. She needs to realize that actions have consequence, and secrets lead to lies. However, Chris and her should have a discussion without you acting as a middleman, once he's calmed down. Not the asshole. Maddie is 16 years old and should certainly understand the consequences at her age. You had to hold her responsible for what she did, and refusing to lie or withhold information from Chris was the right thing to do. Maddie also is old enough to understand a man's commitment to his place of employment. I assume that he is living with you, so his job is helping to keep a roof over her head and food in her stomach. This isn't game time. His job is important and she needs to respect that. I think you need to help her understand this and learn to behave maturely. Her clinging and childish actions could drive Chris from wanting to spend time with her. Not the asshole. I mean, that's one way to make sure you're abandoned, nearly killing the bloke. I need my glasses, and if anyone hid them I could seriously be hurt, just like your partner. He's lucky it was just a minor injury. He could have hit his head, broken bones. What she did had me backtracking, thinking I read wrong, and she was 6. However, I'm going to go ahead and ask, what have you done to help her though this? Is she in therapy? Has she ever been in therapy?